Sure. So, yeah, thank you so much. So, thanks everyone for joining today's call. Okay, just I'm meeting the last few people. So, thanks for registering. So, today we have the honor to actually have Surbhi, Senior Manager for Clinical and Regulatory Affairs for Advanced Ophthalmic Innovation, and she'll be walking us through the U.S. medical device framework. And the content is actually already on Luma. If you already, if you've not seen it, but otherwise, I will actually pass it on to Shrabi to kick off the session.
All right, thank you so much for inviting me. And a quick introduction. So I'm Surbhi and I'm Senior Manager and I'm heading Clinical and Regulatory Affairs Department. And I take care of renewals, registrations, MDR approval, US FDA and rest of the world approval. So without further delay, let me okay, so today we are going to quickly cover introduction to the US market, US FDA oversight and structure, what's the regulatory landscape, prerequisite for foreign manufacturers, for example, all of us, US FDA submission process, timelines, estimated cost, and one case study scenario, and important key takeaways when you are dealing with the US FDA. So quick brief introduction to the US market. Basically, US healthcare ecosystem is large and it is very complex. It is a mix of public and private payers. Then also the high healthcare spending per capita. So basically government is spending more for people of the US, and also they have advanced hospital technology and of course the strong adoption of medical technologies. That's why the US healthcare ecosystem is very complex. What are the basic key market drivers? The market drivers in the US are basically the chronic disease burden, rising chronic disease burden, also the aging population, which of course demand for advanced care. Plus, there is a very strong reimbursement environment for innovative technologies. And again, because of strong environment, there is a very high R&D investment and rapid adoption of new medical devices, unlike any other region, for example, APAC or EU. Then importance of the US market for global manufacturers, because if we compare Asia, Europe, rest of the world and US, the medical device market is approximately 40% of the global market. It also sets a regulatory and technology benchmark globally, because if any company that receives US FDA approval, it's easier to enter rest of the world, and also global expansion is very easy. Plus, the credibility is more if we get a US FDA approval. Once we receive US FDA approval, it's also easy and we can access to leading research institution and clinical collaboration opportunities, which definitely generates a revenue for the company, for the region, and also it's beneficial for the patients. Then US FDA oversight and structure. Basically, I'm not going to go deep dive into biologics, combination products. I'm just focusing on medical device. So Center for Devices and Radiology Health, this basically governs all the regulatory approvals of medical devices. What are they doing? Basically, they are promoting and protecting the public health by facilitating medical device innovation, by advancing regulatory science, providing industry with predictable, consistent, transparent, and efficient regulatory pathway, and assuring consumer confidence. So basically, their guidelines are very clear. They have guidelines for practically everything. So manufacturers can directly reach out to them or can reach out to their portals to see and review the guidelines and accordingly register their medical device in the US. Then Federal Food and Drug and Cosmetic Act, FDNC Act, is basically important and prime act that governs the medical device uh, regulations. So basically it's a legal authority. It contains provisions, that is regulatory requirements, that define FDA's level of control over these products. And then finally, how they fulfill is they apply regulation, they publish and they implement other areas, for example, post-market surveillance, vigilance, etc. in the US. So on your extreme right, there are some key FDA resources and guidelines, which I'm sorry is very bright, but one is regulation.gov. The other one is 21 CFR, which is you can go to this database and practically get every information from there. And the third database is Center for Device and Radiology Health, FDA. So these are three prime FDA resources from where you can start your preliminary work. Then regulatory landscape for medical device is basically governed under CFR 860. So you can see in regulatory landscape, basically FDA has three classes: class 1, class 2 and class 3. The controls required are different for each class. For example, class 1 requires general control, while special and pre-market approval is not there. Class 2 requires general plus special, and class 3 requires general, special and pre-market, all three. So basically there are some exemptions also in the US. So in the US, if basically you are class 1, then there is no need of clinical evidence, just need to do the registration and listing and you can directly start selling. And the ones that are non-exempt, for example, class 2, they require 510K submission. Some of the examples of class 1 and class 2 are bandages, gloves, examination gloves, handheld surgical instruments, then powered wheelchairs, surgical drapes, and etc. So most of the IVDs actually they fall under class 2. Then class 3 basically are very high risk class, and basically all the you can say life supporting devices are under class 3 by default. So breast implants, heart valves, all are classified as class 3. And the ones that were registered before 1976 are now going to be classified either class 2 or class 3. Earlier, before 1976, pre-amendment device, they were just registered like that without any 510K or PMA route. Then the third relatively new, we can say, pathway is de novo pathway. De novo pathway is wherein if you don't have a predicate device and if FDA rejects 510K, then your device can be reclassified from 3 to class 2, which is a lower risk class. That's the basically use of de novo. Then a very basic general overview, what is required under class 1, class 2 and class 3. General controls plus the special controls. So adulteration and misbranding, which is basically vigilance, is required for all three classes. Registration listing is required for all. Recalls is required for all. Plus AE, tracking, removals, corrections, all is required for all the three classes. However, for special controls, performance standards, label, Post-market surveillance is only required for class 2 and little more is required in class 3 with scientific valid evidence as well. Then again, some of the examples are here. Bandages, then catheters are class 2, and then heart valves and breast implants, IOL implants, all are under class 3. Then there is another application that is required for class 2 and class 3 devices, that is IDE application, investigational device exemption. Basically, what is this application? This authorizes to conduct clinical investigation of medical device in the US when device is not approved. So basically, manufacturer can ship the device without getting a approval, and once this is approved, then they can go and file 510K or PMA, whatever is their route. Okay, and when is this required? This is required for significant risk device study that is implantable or life supporting. Now, why this IDE is done? Because some of the manufacturers, they don't have enough sufficient clinical evidence to show that their device is safe and effective. So this IDE gives them an opportunity to generate the data for regulatory submissions. Then typical review timeline for any IDE application is 30 calendar days. So after 30 calendar days, FDA will come back with either approval with conditions, or disapproval. Then prerequisite for foreign manufacturers. As a foreign manufacturer, I am in Singapore. What am I supposed to do when I'm registering my device in the US? I need to register my manufacturing firm and need to do a device listing. Device listing includes name of the device, the proprietary name, the trade name, any 510K number given, PMA or de novo number. This is done annually, October to December, and done via FIRLS and DRLM system. Okay, then for who this is mandatory: manufacturers, specification developers, relabelers, repackagers, and importers. So this is mandatory for all of them. Then the second thing which we have to do is we have to get a US agent, because we don't have office over there, or if you have a subsidiary there, you can use them as your point of contact with the US FDA. So basically, agents will be point of contact, they will help in communication, they will set up inspection, etc. Then another very important requirement for all the foreign manufacturers plus the local manufacturers, comply with 21 CFR 820, which is their quality management system, which they call it QMSR, but now it is harmonized with 13485 and will become effective from May 26, 2026. 26 May 2026. But FDA still requires to retain the records, labels, traceability beyond ISO 13485. And the last requirement would be all the manufacturers should have UDI, and they should register on GUDID, which is a global database, a global unique database. All right, the US FDA submission process in a very nutshell for any manufacturer who is planning to register their device with the US FDA. First and foremost, identify the device classification, whether it is class 1, class 2, class 3. Once you have that plan in place, go for regulatory pathway. If it is class 1, can be exempted, 510K exempt. If it is class 2, determine whether it is 510K, de novo, or PMA. Usually PMA will be class 3, but still all the manufacturers can have that strategy of regulatory pathway. Then pre-sub is always optional, but having a personal experience, I recommend that everybody should go for a pre-sub because you can ask questions from US FDA and seek their guidance for further product development. And best part is it is free of cost. Then once you have pre-sub in place, please determine whether your clinical evidence is sufficient or not. Otherwise, later they may reject your 510K or your PMA application. Then once you determine whether the clinical data is sufficient or not, you prepare a dossier plus submit QMSR to the US FDA, and then US FDA will do administrative review. Once that review is completed, they will do a substantiative review, and then they will give the decision finally. After all this is done, the work doesn't stop here. Post-market obligation triggers in, and then all the requirements have to be met. For example, any implantable needs to follow track device guidelines and stuff, vigilance, etc. Some manufacturers do go for MDSAP. So if you go for MDSAP, then potentially US FDA may not come and inspect, but by all rights they can come and inspect also. Then typical timelines, 510K review takes 90 days. That's pretty standard. Then PMA takes 180 to 320 days standard. De novo takes 150 average, and pre-sub is approximately 70 days written response. So whenever you guys are in DD phase or planning phase, take these standard timelines into consideration while determining any global regulatory strategy or plan. Then cost estimates. Their standard fee for, let's say, 510K is 26,000 USD. However, if you are a small business, there is a limit. For example, certain number of employees, if your company is in that category, plus revenue for 1 year is there is an amount. If you fall in that category, you can apply for small business, and then the fees is relatively less, which is 6,517. So this all you can get from FDA resource, like FDA website. So now going back to a case study scenario, which I have taken example as a wearable health monitor that tracks our heart rate. So first thing first, as a manufacturer, go to their 21 CFR database, see which CFR codifies this type of device. After you identify that, you prepare a strategy. So maximum information you can get from that 21 CFR, and they have CFRs for all the categories. For example, ophthalmic, orthopedic, what else? Everything, surgical gloves, everything is there. So just go to that CFR and identify where your device is. Then now, for example, this health monitor, okay, wearable health monitor, we have two options for regulatory pathway. Either we go via de novo or we go via 510K. Okay, then as a manufacturer, what I will do, I will see whether I have a predicate. By this 870.2300, I can see which predicate I have, and then I can file for 510K by establishing equivalence to that predicate. Okay, to establish this equivalence, I need to show my safety performance, performance data, and also generate any clinical data that is missing via clinical trials or feasibility study, pivotal or pilot, whatever, whichever phase any manufacturer is in. Then what am I going to do? I will do the label dossier and also IDE if needed. So basically that's how I will register wearable health monitor that tracks heart rate. Now, while designing this regulatory strategy, I will definitely have some regulatory risk, and everybody has these risks, and we have to have a plan to mitigate them. So the biggest risk which all manufacturers have is predicate mismatch. What is the impact? Your submission will be straight away rejected. So advice, whenever you guys plan for a 510K, do a thorough research on your predicate and get it clarified in pre-sub. Then insufficient safety and performance data, definitely you will have delays in clearance. To avoid that, please conduct bench and software testing properly, and as much as you guys can, follow consensus standards. US FDA believe in consensus standards. Then the third potential risk could be labeling ambiguities, which can definitely reject your application. So while labeling, be very clear. So important key takeaways from this brief presentation is always select correct regulatory pathway. Try to have pre-submission interactions with the US FDA. Do a proactive risk management. Do early plannings so that you shorten the time to the market and avoid costly delays. And always engage FDA proactively. If you want to succeed with US FDA, please engage them at every single step so as to avoid shocks at later stage. So these are some of the references which you can go and like research more about. Thank you so much for your patient listening.
Thank you, Surbhi. I think in a very short time, we give you a mission impossible. In about 20 minutes time, we'll talk about this US like that. Again, in our program, we are not here in a short time, make you a regulatory expert, but give you a very high level overview, some practical tips to handle the US regulatory high level understanding, and more like a kickoff. And if you need more help, of course, you can contact to our speaker, or we also have a part 2 of a US regulatory sharing next month as well. But again, we found it, really fortunate to have Surbhi to have this time to share with us, because not easy in Singapore to have RA people who actually do a US registration by herself, because a lot of time multinational company do the registration by US team, not by a Singapore team like that. So that experience is very valuable, and really appreciate. And for the rest of time, maybe I will let Surbhi to take care of some Q&A. But on behalf of the regulatory circle, I would like to thank you for your time. And I also need to control the Q&A a little bit, when to stop, etc. But if anyone missed the training, because some may join a little bit later, we will have a recording afterwards so that you don't miss it. And don't worry, you don't have a chance to ask questions today because you were able to always contact the regulatory circle and also Surbhi accordingly by WhatsApp, email accordingly. So I want to take this time to thank you, Surbhi, again for your time and your sharing. And I pass the time for Q&A now.
Thank you for giving this opportunity.
Thank you. but there is some question in the meeting chat. Maybe Shirley, you can start taking care of that part for the time being. And if you don't mind, I need to go for another call first. But thank you again for your great sharing and support.
Thank you so much, Jack.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care. Thank you. Shirley, you may manage to see the question
Yes.
in the meeting chat. Yeah, I'll let you
Yes,
handle
I
that. Okay,
can
thank you.
see.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are these calendar days? So may I ask, are you referring to IDE application? I'm reading randomly the questions. So yeah.
I was referring to the days required for the submissions, press-up, 510K, and some other applications.
Yeah.
75 days for press-up, I think, and is it for calendar days or working days?
Yes. So basically, for example, IDE, because I myself did IDE few days back. So typically there was 30 calendar days. They replied
Okay.
exactly at 30th calendar day with their response to me.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Then please share the link page slide 15. Okay, let me go back to slide 15. All right, this one I can do. I can share the link page. Okay, this one I'll do in the chat box itself. Would that be okay? Ananta? Okay, never mind. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But give me some time. I'll take the other questions first.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, with the harmonization of QMSR in Feb 2026, what will be the changes from QSR? Okay, so basically I have not done the gap analysis myself at the moment, but I do suspect some of the changes in terms of, I think, vigilance, and also in terms of MDSAP requirements, which are yet to be. I mean, I have to still read. So yeah, once I am done that, probably I can share it with you. So I don't know the name though, but I just see A. So whose question is it? Can I have your name, please?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, I'm Andrew C. Okay, the thing is that right now I'm a trainer in QMSR. Okay, so train 21 CFR 820. Okay,
Yep.
and then with the transition to QMSR right now, I mean you have all the terminology of the DHR, DMR, and all that kind of things, and then you have to have a transition into the medical device file now. So.
Yep.
What is it different? Because medical device file entail more specification and more details,
Yeah, so I haven't done the gap analysis yet myself because this change is recently out. So, and we have time. Sorry? Uh, yeah. So we still have time until 26th May because it's getting effective on 26th May 2026. So once I have the gap analysis done by myself, then probably I can answer this question, Andrew.
Okay. The other thing is that because the MDR 745 also has also a lot of GSRP implemented. So is the QMSR going to take the GSRP into review also?
Yeah, possible they may take, but again, this, for example, clinical evaluation report, this concept is only from EU MDR side. Okay, this is not officially like US FDA term. So terms may differ here and there, but I think the content will still be the same. It's just terminologies can be different here and there based on this QMSR
Because
harmonization.
ISO 1345 is based on an 8-clause system, and
Yeah.
then the 21 CFR 820 is built on a 15 subset system. So you
Yes.
got to synchronize the whole thing, and then blend it into 8-clause QMSR ISO 1345 2016. Okay,
Yep.
and then we are very lucky that right now they have another one that's coming out, the new TR, which is the 23485, right now. And
Yes.
then they are going
Yes.
to transit, luckily that, this 2016 is going to run until 2030, that is still some time until the next standard come in. Okay. All right.
Yep. Yep. Agree.
Okay. That's my area of concern in the US right now.
Yeah, I mean, I have not done, to be honest, I have not done a gap analysis myself. So I still need to do it and then see what are the differences, and definitely have to integrate. But yeah, I have to figure out a way out.
Because IVDR is going to be different again.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Understand.
Okay. So the next question is, are there differences the regulation at the federal level? Some states where the regulations might be different in the regulations. Okay, so from my experience so far with the US FDA, I haven't come across that any regulation, for example 510K, suppose, is different for like one state in the US and then it's different in the other state in the US. I have not come across so far. Little bit changes could be, for example, any import requirements in that state, or for example language requirement that can be different, but the main regulation is still FD&C Act, which is the federal legal, I can say, the requirement from the manufacturers. Does it make sense? Okay. Any other questions? I think all questions are done in the chat box. Any other questions?
Yeah, hi, Surbhi.
Hi.
This is Ishwari. I'm sorry I joined late, so maybe this has been addressed. Now, my kind of background's in the pharma space, so I was just wondering if you could comment on your interactions with the FDA and the dialogue, because obviously in the pharma space, it's the pre-IND meeting, and you go through all of that, right? And then come up to the BLA or NDA, whatever it is. Could you just sort of give me some sort of your own reflections? Because the device is obviously kind of pretty differently regulated, yeah, not just in Europe, but obviously in the United States. So just wanted a bit of your perspective.
Okay, thank you for the question. This is a very good question. So actually, what as a foreign manufacturer I do for my company, setting up a meeting is not a problem, but usually we will go for pre-sub written responses. So what we usually do is, because when we go for a meeting, like either face to face or a conference call, right, we have a limited time, and in that
Of
limited
course, yeah.
time, right, you cannot ask everything.
Mm.
So what we did, we do a pre-sub, and in pre-sub actually there is no limitation to the questions. However, the questions have to be clear. They can't be misleading, or they can't be like beating around the bush. So what we did, we exactly ask what we have to ask, and then get a very clear response from US. So more clear your question is, the more clear answer you will get. That's the best technique.
Sure. I mean, no, and that's exactly what works in the pharma space. I'm just sort of thinking, because obviously devices are now quite varied and different, right? In terms of the technology that's employed. And do you think that conversation has become, more flexible, and not necessarily in the way that what they will want you to do, because that's governed by the CFR, but just their flexibility in thinking? Do you think that that's kind of improving or changing? Because I would say that in the pharma space, that certainly did happen. But so I'm just kind of interested whether that's also filtering through into devices, really. Yeah.
So definitely I am seeing that they are a little bit more accepting in terms of IDE, because I did recently one IDE and I got approval actually. Earlier, based on my conversations or my pre-subs, they were very rigid, okay, about certain things, about certain regulations. If it is not FDA's way, then there is no way, right? But now I think based on my IDE application, they are a little bit more accepting, of course, with reasons, and they have started giving you hints also where they want you to go, which in earlier conversations or in earlier pre-sub, I never saw that kind of a direction. So now,
I mean, and that's really good to hear, actually, because I think particularly in devices, the technology is just changing and it is so varied, right? And I think that's a really good thing, because again, sometimes in pharma space, because obviously that's a more developed environment, right? And also it has been in the way that things have been done very differently. But it's good to hear. No, I'm just sort of interested in your experience, and thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Subi, I have one question, on the software as a medical device. Now, with so many AI going on right now, with all this technology that is coming, like like blood, sampling is replaced by scanning technology. We call it thermal optical imaging, or, they call it ultrasonic, and all that. Now, what do you see on this new kind of trends?
So I really don't deal with software. My core is device, but looking at how they are handling applications now, right? It is because software is still emerging, still developing. So US FDA is also trying to frame policies or frame some regulations. So it is actually a boom also, I can say, and it is a curse also, because right now when US FDA also exactly don't know how to do, so in manufacturers opinion, they can leverage, and if they can show by clinical evidence or like the software is safe and effective, and they can prove to US FDA that it is safe and effective to use, it's easier. But once US FDA establish regulations and they have a certain mindset, then probably any new technology face challenges, because everything is still establishing, regulations are not clear to the manufacturer, or US FDA have different opinion. So to me, I feel the best approach is engage US FDA from start and do a pre-sub. When concept is coming, straight away have a pre-sub with US FDA, asking that this is our plan or this is the design, and then what is their opinion? And if regulations are there, or if something they have established, then manufacturer has little insight of how US FDA will handle that application. That's what I feel for software.
Okay, thank you. I understand. It's a lot of verification and validation data that has to go through.
Yes, yes. So, and it can be sometimes in favor of manufacturer, because US FDA, they don't have clearly stated what they require. So it's easy for manufacturer to establish their own testing requirements or specifications, etc. But sometimes when there is a standard, or if there is a policy given by US FDA, then it becomes challenging or difficult for the manufacturer, I mean, who's of course a small scale, to follow the regulations and make some new like product or some new technology. Now, for example, now I'm doing a 510K with the US. It's my personal experience. Sometimes it's very funny for me. 510K, we have to show equivalence to predicate. Then why a manufacturer will do any innovation? Because when we do innovation, then they outrightly reject that your device is not equivalent to a predicate, so we will not give you approval. So it has to be quite a good balance with the US FDA, what they expect us to do and what is supposed to do. So it's a balance, basically. And that's my personal experience, which I'm facing at the moment with the US FDA.
What happened if it's a Nanova, because it's a lot of this AI and all that are very new,
Yeah, yeah. That is why I myself got this suggestion that go for PMA or de novo. But PMA de novo route is not very easy as a small manufacturer. So then again, strategies had to be changed, and then US FDA was involved. So all these things are very um, difficult, but I wouldn't say they are not possible. So it's just way out how we wiggle around with US FDA. So yeah.
Okay.
Any more questions for me?
Just on the surface, so do you think that the FDA is more stringent now, or they're kind of still the same like the old days?
Okay, my experience, solely my experience, they are a bit relaxed. They are a bit accepting nowadays, what I have just gone through with them in recent days.
Okay. Understand.
Because mine is implantable device, it is a class 2. So I have seen that they are very you can say I mean, my of course my clinical evidence is also very strong, but they are a bit accepting, they are a bit acknowledging that efforts are there from the manufacturer. So outrightly they are not rejecting anything if we have proper clinical evidence, unlike other I mean older times wherein they were very guideline specific. So I also had some queries in my IDE. Okay, and some of the things were different than what they say in the guidelines, but we had our justifications, we had our reasons, and fortunately they accepted. So, and earlier I know they were very strict, what is there in their guidelines, follow, otherwise a rejection. So it's not like that.
One last question. You say that, you know, they are a little bit relaxed and lenient, but I think that, you know, on the biocompatibility, they have clamped down on a lot of Indians
Yes.
and Chinese biocompatibility laboratory, and then black mark them, you know, and then make sure that they're all scrutinized, you know, and then they could go back and pull all the 10 years record of what they have done with other companies. So even ban some of the labs from doing any more biocompatibility testing. That's why I'm representing a very renowned Taiwanese biocompatibility testing lab right now, okay, for the Asia Pacific context now.
Yeah, yeah. So as we all are aware that they did ban a very, very reputable lab. But again, as I said, biocompatibility, ISO 10993, we all have to understand that ultimately, right, patients are getting benefit, okay? And if 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 at all we keep ourselves in those like patient shoes, do we want to get a device, or do we want to get ourselves tested by IVD that is not safe or that is not biocompatible? No, right? So if at all a manufacturer has not done their due diligence on the lab which they are working with, I think it's not only problematic for the manufacturer, but also patient safety is at huge big risk. So it's always better for as a manufacturer to do a proper supplier control check when we engage any lab for biocom testing. So that exactly, I understand what you're saying, and I completely agree. Have to be very careful with 10993. So yeah.
Okay, because right now you have the 10993-1 2025 now.
25, yes, exactly.
Right. So
So yeah.
thank you. So I understand.
Okay, any more questions? If not, then I can post the link in the chat for the reference. Just give me a minute. I am pulling out. All right. Here is the link. Okay, let me see who asked this question. Just give me a second. Okay, Ananta, right? So quickly, Ananta, I'll share my screen and I will tell you how this looks like for your ease. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, so this is like a master, you can say, page. Okay, so you need any medical safety device notice or whatsoever, just go and click this link. Okay, if you want to, for example, search any guidance document, go over here. Okay,
So
yeah.
actually, in the talk, the slide number 15 you passed so fast. So actually, I don't have to check out all the. I think there are 4 5 points are there or something.
Yes. So
Okay.
so basically all those links are coming from this master
Okay.
uh link. So basically you want to see any 510K pre-market notification, database, you go to this link. Registration and
Okay.
listing, you go to this link. So yeah.
Okay, Ken. I actually have opened the link. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Any other last minute sharing, or should we end? All right, I will check with Christelle. All right, so if nothing is there, thank you so much to everybody for listening, and apologies if I did not answer what you were expecting or I was wrong. And please do correct me on my WhatsApp number or via regulatory circle if you think I was wrong or if I missed anything. Thank you so much and have a
Thanks.
great
Bye bye.
evening. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.